Hope everybody had a good weekend. Just following up from the teleconference the other night. Really good bye week for us. Got a lot of work done. Practiced Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday last week, and then our players had Thursday and Friday off. Coaches were able to get out on the road recruiting. It was great to be on the road recruiting. A lot of energy and excitement about South Carolina football right now, as you can imagine. So we were a lot of us in South Carolina and multiple states as well over those 2 days, and saw a lot of great prospects that are either committed to us or hopefully will be committed to us soon. Everybody had the weekend off, and then we got back in here on Sunday and had a good practice Sunday night, and a really good day out there this morning as well. Injury-wise, we're in really good shape, knock on wood. Corey Rucker won't play this week, but other than Corey, and Terrell Dawkins isn't quite back yet, but other than those two, everybody's got a chance. CBS, Christian Beal-Smith practiced this morning and looked fantastic. Those guys just continued. Devontae Reed continued to get better. Boogie did everything this morning in practice. So like where we are from a health standpoint. Excited about this Saturday. Obviously going to be an awesome environment in the stadium on Saturday night. The fair going on across the street, a night game in Columbia, SEC night game as well. As you can imagine, we've got a ton of recruits that'll be here at this game, which we're excited to visit with. I know tickets are in high demand. I'm the head coach, and I'm trying to find more tickets. My wife and family, we've given too many away, so I still got people calling me. So it's a hot ticket, which it should be. Our guys have earned that right to have a big game like this, and we need to have a great week of practice in order to go be able to play well on Saturday night against a really good team in A&M. Coach Fisher's done a great job with those guys. They're playing a lot of freshmen. They've battled a handful of injuries like we have as well, but really, really, really talented. The running back on offense is dynamic and a heck of a player. Big physical offensive line, athletic tight ends, highly recruited receivers, athletic quarterback. Defensively, I've talked about it before, their size and their length on defense stands out, particularly in the secondary. They have DBs that look like linebackers, and they're a veteran group on the back end, and then a really, really talented defensive line as well that is half of them, I guess, are true freshmen, but really, really playing well. And then special teams, they're elite. The running back's their kickoff returner. He's already taken one kickoff back for a touchdown against App State. Had a chance to pop a couple more, and they got us last year in the return game on a punt for a touchdown. So our coverage units have to be fantastic, and then we've got to continue to win that phase on special teams like we've been able to do for the most part this year. But off to a good start, and looking forward to Saturday night and being back home in our stadium. And I know our fans are excited to get out and see us as well. Hope that Gamecock walk. We're encouraging recruits to get here early to see the walk, and expect that to be dynamic, and then everything else throughout the night. And we're working really hard to make sure we put on a good show. So, questions?
Shane, looking at the depth chart released yesterday, I noticed R.J. Roderick wasn't on it. Is he still part of the team?
R.J.'s not a part of the team anymore. I'll let R.J. speak for himself, but right now he's not a member of this football team, and won't be going forward. And having said that, I've met with RJ and his mom on Sunday and had good conversations, and I don't want to speak for RJ, but everything's good from that standpoint.
Coach, you have a pretty good track record coming off when you got some extra time to prepare for a game. Is it just the power of a good night's sleep or extra time with film? What is it that you kind of credit that to?
I think it's a combination. Season openers were a couple of those that obviously we had a whole year to prepare, and our guys played well. Bowl game, we obviously played really, really well. The off week last year, and then extra week to prepare for Kentucky as well. We need to keep that going. A&M's in the same situation because they were off last week as well. But I think anytime you have a chance to, one, get rested, but two, have a little bit extra time to prepare for your next opponent, for the most part, it helps. A lot of times you want to keep playing and not have an off week and things like that. But I know for us this week specifically, we needed it just from a health standpoint to get healthy and get rested mentally and physically. But I don't know. I think each situation's different, and hopefully we can continue that track record of success this week as well.
I'm sure we asked you about the storyline of South Carolina never beating Texas A&M last year, so
You need to this year as well?
Yeah, maybe
Okay.
maybe we won't have to ask next year. But what does that, I guess, mean to you? And do you talk about it with your players at all about the opportunity to do something that hadn't been done?
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit this morning that we haven't, and certainly that's disappointing. That's a game that we need to win at some point. But also made the point that has nothing to do. Give A&M credit, but that has nothing to do with the 2022 game. I mean, there's a bunch of guys that are going to be playing on Saturday night that have never even played Texas A&M, and every year is different. But give credit to A&M; they've been better than us. I remember watching that game on TV, whatever it was, 2014, I think, when they came in here when SEC Network started, and I think it was SEC Network, right? Yeah, because it was on ESPN and then it flipped to SEC Network, and I realized I didn't have SEC Network and needed to get it that night. But I remember watching that on TV, and they've been better, and we need to play and coach a lot better than we have in the past. But certainly, anytime you can have the opportunity to do something that you haven't done, that's motivation.
Shane, kind of a bigger picture SEC question. Obviously, everybody seemed to be watching that Alabama-Tennessee game. It seems like after a few years of the SEC West kind of being the feature division, the East is kind of making a comeback. It's getting to be like when you were here as an assistant.
Yeah.
Do you notice that as a coach, and what do you think the difference is? Is just trying to out-recruit what the West is doing and kind of get yourself on par?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I mean, the West has had a national champion recently in LSU, a national champion recently in Alabama, here in most recently, and obviously in the East we've had Georgia. Across the SEC East, across the SEC period, it's gonna be really, really good football. And when I first got in the SEC, I was a graduate assistant at Tennessee, and that's when Tennessee and Florida were the winner of that game was gonna play for the SEC championship and have a chance to play for more than that as well. And by no means do you see the West necessarily slipping by any stretch of the imagination, but you certainly see the East coming back around for sure. There's great programs. There's traditional programs that have a lot of pride as well. And there's programs that are continuing to get better. And to me, it's just one of those, if you're going to be in this league, you better recruit your butt off and coach your butt off and be as good as you possibly can be. Otherwise, it'll eat you up and spit you out pretty quickly.
Shane, you saw Devin Achane last year for A&M. Kind of a similar running back to Chris Rodriguez. What are the differences there? And also as a part of that, you guys were able to stop Rodriguez pretty well. Do you think the same game plan will work at stopping Achane?
Yeah, I think it's different. I mean, the offenses, A&M and Kentucky, are similar in a lot of ways. A lot of the formations and the tempo they want to play with and the schemes, there's some carryover. Every game's different, so we don't sit there and say, okay, we're taking the same identical game plan that we did against Kentucky and we're going to use it every week. We're going to kind of do what we do and tweak it. But no, I mean, they're both really dynamic, productive backs. Rodriguez is so big and physical. Not that A&M, the A&M is not. He's built different, and he's got unbelievable vision, David. You watch a lot of his runs. He had some explosive runs against A&M, and if you watch in the end zone copy and you pause it, you'd say, okay, this is a no gain, and next thing you know, it's a big play because he's shifty. He's got great vision. He's got great feet. He's got world-class speed, and just like A&M trying to tackle that guy, we talked about gang tackling and getting 11 guys around the ball and flying to the ball. It's going to be the same thing this week with these guys because he's really, really, really talented. And they do so much with him out of the backfield as well because of his speed. He's a really, really good football player without a doubt.
Shane, hope you're doing well. Eric Douglas was in here earlier today saying he thinks Spencer's kind of one of the calmer guys on the team. He noticed that at halftime at Kentucky. What is it about Spencer and the way he kind of just keeps everything, in check, I guess, when it's high or when it's low?
Yeah, I think that's just his personality and always has been. Nothing, he doesn't get rattled. And he's a competitive guy. He shows emotion when needed, but he's a guy that doesn't get too high and too low. And I think that's a great quality, for your quarterback. he's been through battles before, first of all, so he's got a calming influence. I mean, he won a conference championship at Oklahoma and went through with some adversity and was in some tough situations, and even then never got rattled. And when we lost the first 2 conference games at Oklahoma in 2020 when he was our starting quarterback, he didn't get rattled. He came right back and never lost again as a starting quarterback at Oklahoma. And even here, if there's been a turnover, whether it's a drop or whatnot, he's not super emotional and on a roller coaster. And I think that's a great quality to have in your quarterback. He's a confident guy, and he certainly brings confidence to our offense with the way that he handles himself and carries himself throughout the game.
Hey, Coach, hope you're doing well. So Jalen Brooks has kind of made a resurgence in this offense as of late. Can you kind of talk about his impact in the passing game and just overall with the offense?
Yeah, he's been fantastic and has been ever since he came back. I thought he was doing some really good things for us last year before he wasn't able to finish the season. And he plays like a guy that is appreciative for every single day that he gets to come in this building and gets to go practice football, because that was taken away from him last year. And he's been awesome. As a receiver, he can run, he can catch. He's gone up and won a lot of competitive 50-50 balls in the air. And then watch him on special teams as well. I mean, he's been great on special teams also. He's the guy when the other team punts, he's the guy that goes out there and is matched up one-on-one with the other team's gunner, which is normally what you do with a defensive back. We do it with Jalen Brooks because he's got length and he's competitive and he's really good at it. And very few receivers in college football are doing that. So he's very unselfish. He's got a great energy about himself, and I think it's just he's appreciative for the opportunity that he got again and is maximizing that. And he's a really good football player, too, that's just continued to get better.
Yeah, Coach, it seems like we're talking about Marshawn Lloyd almost every single week now. How nice is it to see him just consistently do what he's capable of doing now for you guys? Yeah,
it's been awesome. He's when we run the football, as you guys know, we are successful, and we typically have won football games when we've run the ball efficiently. And Marshawn's doing a great job. He's healthy, for one. So he's playing fast, he's playing physical, he's making people miss. He's really improved in his pass catching ability, so that's a element of his game that he's gotten better at as well. And give credit to all those guys around him, the receivers and the way that they're blocking unselfishly, and the tight ends and the offensive line. So we've got to continue to keep that going. But happy for Marshawn because, like all of our guys, but especially Marshawn, football is very, very important to him. And he's really passionate about playing, and it shows on the field.
Shane, A&M's not in a heck of a lot of different situation than you guys were in last year with as many quarterbacks as they've had to play. And I guess, obviously, they haven't announced who's going to start this week. But I guess how much does that matter for you guys as far as game planning on whether it's going to be one of 2-3 guys? And I guess what does that do as far as what you guys are doing this week?
Not much, to be honest. I mean, I think they're similar skill sets. I mean, I think both the quarterbacks that we may or may not see are athletic and are just going to run their system. Coach Fisher, excuse me, does a great job running that offense, and their system's not going to change. So certainly one's got a little bit more experience, and another one's a freshman and whatnot. But as far as our game planning and things like that, not really. Just because it doesn't really change because they're not really super different from a skill set standpoint.
Shane, obviously, you guys were really excited after Kentucky. Going into the bye week, were the guys able to kind of focus that excitement and confidence in the right way, working last week and then into this week, getting ready for Texas A&M?
I felt so. I felt like they did. We beat Kentucky. We met on Sunday, and the meetings were good. Like every game, win or lose, we come in here and we showed the things we did well, and there's a lot of things we didn't do well that night in Lexington, and learn from it. And then practice Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I was curious to see, okay, what's our mentality going to be at practice on Monday? It's a Monday morning. We just beat Kentucky. Everybody's patting us on the back, telling us how great we are. It's a bye week. They're going home that weekend, and they were awesome last week. I mean, we weren't on the field necessarily as long as we normally are during a week, but we worked last week and really we got better, in my opinion. And so I was proud of the guys, the way they handled it. Certainly, it was nice to have a bye week where you could enjoy the win, if you will, a little bit longer because you don't have to get ready for an opponent. But it was right back to work, and really for us, it was trying to make them understand that we can be a lot better as a football team, that we did some great things in Lexington that night, but we can play, a lot better than what we did in certain areas also, that we left some plays out there.
With the ground game success, do you feel like that's the identity of the offense? I know that was something that was kind of talked about a lot earlier on in the season, or do you feel like that's sort of still being written, that story?
No, I mean, I think we're on track that that's something that, you go right next door in that team meeting room and we talk about how we win football games, and running the ball and stopping the run is, right up there at the top of it. So that'll always be something that I want to be known for. But also offensively, I want us to be able to run it when we have to run it, but also be able to throw it, when we want to throw it as well. And we're doing a better job. By no means have we arrived from an offensive standpoint. We're going to play some really good defenses down the stretch starting this week. So we've got to continue to get better at running the football. And as you run the ball better, that opens up more and more things in the passing game as well. So, yeah, I'd say we're on track to being what we want to be about: physical, play really, really hard, and being able to run the ball, but also with the ability to throw it also. And seen signs of being able to do both, and now we've just got to continue to get better at both those things.
Hey, Shane. I wanted to ask you about Mitch. He's been super consistent this year, 6 of 6 on field goals, kept the ball out of Barry and Brown's hands the other night at Kentucky. Just, I know he was still fighting for that job through most of preseason. Just kind of what have you seen from him, and has it been a surprise just kind of how well he's performed this year?
Yeah, no, he's done great. And I think it's more of a testament to him and Alex Herrera that competition went as long as it did, because we've got great confidence in Alex. He hit a long field goal out in practice today. Alex did. So we've got confidence in both those guys. But I think as Mitch has been able to get out there this season, his confidence continues to grow. I mean, starting his first game as a starting kicker and he hits 2 50-plus yard field goals, that'll do it. And then the way that he kicked off last week, I mean, he was animated and excited about those kicks in the end zone, which was great. So I think he's a guy, like any young player, as you get in there and you get experience, you continue to gain confidence, and he's doing a great job of that. And we need him to continue to come along and be great. But really proud of what he's done so far, and he's a weapon for us.
Hey, Shane, Zach Pickens was in here earlier making us laugh with his stories from the fair. And you talk about stopping the run a bunch. What impact does he mean, what does he mean to this defensive line and stopping the run, especially against a team like A&M?
Yep. So Zach was at the fair recently. Is that what he said? I bet you that was good. I need to find those stories out. He's been awesome. He's so what's the word? He's a great leader for us, a great emotional leader. He's awesome, in team meetings. He sits right in the front row, right here to my left when I'm talking, and just, being able to look in his eyes and just the passion that he has. I feel like, okay, this meeting's going well if I see him over there kind of like nodding his head and things like that. And if there's not much of a reaction, I'm like, oh, crap, maybe I'm not being very good this morning. But he's an emotional leader, and he's just so disruptive. Like, he can be so dominant when he wants to be. And he's doing that more and more regularly. He was awesome against Kentucky, and proud of him because he came back to school this year and he's done nothing but help himself. He's playing his butt off, playing really, really hard. And I think I mentioned it, you watch him on extra points. When the other team scores, he's trying with all his might. He ain't taking the play off, feeling bad about we just gave up a touchdown. He's trying to block the extra point and take it back the other way. And that's just him, and really, 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 proud of him.
Shane, this is another leadership question. You talked about the team's attitude coming off the Kentucky win. How much of that can be attributed to the veteran leadership of the players, making sure that everyone understands what you're facing now?
Yeah, no, without a doubt. We told our guys when we went to Kentucky, Rick, that, our leadership has to be strong in Lexington, going on the road and handling that adversity that we faced on the road. And it's no different this week as well. Coming back, we got a lot of young guys that are going through this for the first time, and now you're right back into SEC play after a big win in Lexington. So our leadership has to, help us go right back to work and be great leaders. Our best players got to play their best on Saturday night, and that's the leaders on this football team. And from what I've seen, they've done a great job of that, and our guys have really done a nice job of going right back to work, starting last week and then into this week, and attribute that to a lot of the guys that are leaders on this team.
Kind of going off of Joe's question, I've been asking the guys about the state fair and just, favorite foods. Lots of them have had different answers, from the donut burger to the fried Oreos and everything. Have you gotten over there yet? And you got anything specifically you'd target if you got there?
I haven't. I feel bad saying that I haven't. I look at it out my window early morning and then throughout the night, but no, I haven't gotten over there. My kids went yesterday, and they had all kinds of stories. I got home last night, and they were all asleep, but there was all kinds of just prizes piled up in the kitchen floor of things that they won at the fair yesterday. So they had a good time. Believe it or not, my last time to the fair was when I was an assistant coach here, and our offices were at the stadium, so it was easy to just walk across the street and come right back. So I remember going over there when Sutton, our oldest, she's 14 now, this would have been when she was a baby, and went across the street. We rode an elephant together. That was pretty cool. Not every day you get to go to the fair and ride an elephant in Columbia. So we did that, and I think that was my last time at the fair. And then I've been around it. Obviously, when you're at Oklahoma, you play Texas in the middle of the State Fair of Texas, which is, if you guys have never been to that, you need to. That's a bucket list trip. But that's pretty cool. We drove through the fair at the game, and my kids and wife enjoyed that one. But I have not been, so I can't comment on the food. I know there's some great things over there, but I've been too busy over here.
I get two more for you. Corey Rucker's thing, is it similar to or the injury that he dealt with in preseason, or is he?
Yeah, I think in his mind, or not in his mind. I think he played against, what was that, Charlotte?
Yeah.
Played in that game and aggravated it a little bit in that game, and it's just been kind of slow coming back along. So yes, not a new injury. It's aggravating what he had done before.
And were you supposed to say something about your dad's birthday?
Oh yeah, it's my dad's birthday. So I already called him this morning. So I feel like I did my part, because I called him this morning before we went to practice and wished him happy birthday. So yeah, happy birthday to my dad, and we'll see him this weekend. And hopefully we can play well and make some plays on special teams and give him a great present. Thank you.
Shayna, with the carry-on, is he completely healthy, from that thing he had earlier in the year?
Yeah, I think he would tell you that. He's nobody that we're concerned about injury-wise. He's doing a great job for us on special teams. And then the position that he plays, he's our F receiver, which is essentially like the slot guy with Amari and Brown. And we, against Kentucky and some of these other games, we've been in a lot of 12 personnel. I mean, we got 2 tight ends out there. So if there's 2 tight ends out there, then there's going to be 1 less receiver on the field. And we didn't play a ton of plays against Kentucky. So he's healthy. He's doing a great job on special teams, and is doing a nice job at receiver for us also.
Shane, you guys, I think, lead the nation in punt blocks right now. I got asked about it on the radio earlier, asking why you guys are able to do that. Frankly, I'm not really sure. So I guess could kind of answer that. What is it about punt blocks?
Coaching. Come on, Ben.
What is it? Is it just that you're the head coach, you're dialing up punt blocks? I mean, what is it that you guys are doing to be able to get after punt kicks?
No, I think that's a great question. It's a lot of different things. One, the emphasis that we put on it as well. Certainly when I'm being the head coach, it helps, because when I was at Oklahoma and I was in charge of like the punt block team, you're always hesitant, because if you rough the punter, Lincoln Riley's looking at you like, come on, man. And Steve Spurrier was doing the same thing, because they're offensive guys and they want the ball back. So certainly when the head coach is involved with special teams like I am, and want to be aggressive, because I believe when you're aggressive and you're able to block punts, that helps the return game as well. If you look at our punt return average right now, what we're averaging per punt return, it's probably triple what it was last year. And a lot of that is because teams are having to stay in there and protect because of the threat of getting a punt blocked. But no, I give Pete Limbo and And Stanton Weber, our analysts, they spend a ton of time on it, on special teams. And every week's different. It's not like we just say, okay, here's our punt block and go. I mean, there's a game plan that we have every week on special teams. And when the other team's punting and our punt pressure unit is out there, we have multiple calls and we have checks. Okay, if they line up in this formation, we're going to run this, or if they line up this way, we're going to run that, and then credit our players for buying into it as well. Every team you play that punts the football, they've got their scheme. So we try and do a really, really, really good job of breaking down their protection scheme and what they're doing, and therefore how to attack it as well. And then our players, when you are able to have some success in it, like we did starting with Georgia State, they buy into it and they get excited, about it. And Pete does a great job of keeping it fresh and keeping it entertaining. The different calls that we have for some of the returns and rushes. I mean, there's a different theme each week, from the movie Airplane to famous stars of the show Sopranos or whatever it may be. I mean, you never know what you're going to get the theme for punt pressure this week and all the calls. So he does a really good job, and then our players have done a great job of buying into it.
Shane, MJ Webb, he's been around for a while. He was in here earlier talking about some of what the best, I guess, Gamecock teams he's played for, talking about the physicality they had, the connectedness they had. What have you observed from him as far as his maybe role or presence among the team? And just can you speak to some of those things he was talking about, maybe the physicality or the connectedness that this team plays with?
Yeah, no, MJ is he's fantastic. He's a veteran guy that he's very much like Spencer, doesn't get too high, too low on offense. You could say the same thing about MJ. I mean, he's just a calming influence and does a great job in his role on the defensive line. Very unselfish, great team player. And I agree. I mean, we talk a lot about being a connected team and a close team, and you can't just talk about it. You got to be about it and be very intentional about it. And I agree with him. We've really tried to work to each week get closer and closer and more connected as a team. And then we pride ourselves on being really physical as well. And playing that way on Saturdays. We practice that way, and I believe if you practice that way, you're going to play that way on Saturday also.
Yeah, Shane, I wanted to riff off Ben's question about you guys block a punt and it's beamer ball. You complete a pass, it's beamer ball. Is there some kind of Dead Sea Scrolls compendium of special teams play that the beamers are privy to and nobody else is? I mean, what is that? Is that like?
No, I wish it was that simple. No, I think it's just starting with my dad. He'll tell you early on at Virginia Tech they weren't very good, and special teams was a way to try and even the playing field a little bit. So when he first went to Virginia Tech and was coming in here and playing Todd Ellis and Sterling Sharp and all those guys, they needed to find a way to keep it close, and him coaching special teams was a way of doing that. And it goes back to the emphasis we put on it. We put a lot of emphasis on it here. We spend more time on special teams in practice and in meetings here than anywhere I've been, including Virginia Tech. And then our players have bought into it as well. And Pete and Stanton do a great job of trying to coach it up.
Hey, Shane, got a scheduling question for you. I know this is going to change in the next couple of years, but do you like having that consistent SEC West opponent, or would you rather see both of those kind of switch every year?
Is that your roundabout way of asking me if I favor the 9-game schedule, the 8-game schedule, and trying to trick me into saying that? As I've said before, I mean, I think there's positives to both the different scenarios and things like that. I've only been around in the SEC, at least, where you have the crossover opponent, and then same thing in the I guess in the ACC as well when I was at Virginia Tech. So when I was here before, it was Arkansas, I believe, was our crossover, and then now you're here and it's A&M, and then I've been in the Big 12 where it was just round robin and you played everybody and you didn't have division. So been a part of both of it, and I know it's like the politically correct answer that I play whoever they tell us to play and when they tell us to play them. And you know, I know it's a big topic of discussion, but in this league, there's no weeks off. And whether you're playing A&M every year or whether you're playing a different team every year, you know, it's going to be a battle. Boat. Yep. And then right back to work. Thanks. Y'all have a good week.